Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the other way, let's watch.
I have no idea where this water is coming from or why it's holy, but they're all desperate to get the water and they're just pushing up against each other. Baby. Come on, come this way. Baby, this is too much.
I will say that there is a sexist element to this, I think, that a lot of men will exhibit, that your feelings are irrelevant, you're hysterical, I'm in control, I don't need to ask for your permission, I'm just going to do things anyway, and, that's not great. And now the two of them have had control issues kind of going both ways. It's actually, I hadn't really thought about that. There seems to be an ongoing question of power and control. Who's in control? He controls by withdrawing, I think, by not texting her back, by turning off his phone, by forging ahead and saying everything's fine. You don't know what's happening. You're a fish out of water in a culture. I'm in control. I know the language. I know the culture. Everything's okay. And then she will control in the ways that we've seen her control as well. So I wonder if that is a point of aggravation for the two of them. Who's in control and who has the power? All right, so she is, losing it, which is, to be expected, I think, given that I think she's an anxious person, and anxious people are often terrified of crowds, particularly like this, where there's press and desperation. It's one thing to kind of be in a line. It's another thing when people are like, and there's all this energy of, hey, everyone, because apparently similar to maybe when you're at a hockey game or something, a basketball game, and there's someone with that cannon with T-shirts, and if you scream the loudest, then the mascot will shoot the T-shirt into your. You have to scream so that the holy water will come in your direction, and they're not very close, so they have to hope that it, or at least he is. So anyway, but she's starting to lose it, which I think was predictable, and she's like, you can hear it in her voice. She's like, let's go. And he's like, okay, everything's fine. Instead of, okay, let's go, let's take a breather, and then let's go back. Anxious people need to have some control over the situation, because if they don't, then, it's one thing to be anxious. It's another thing to be anxious and out of control. Then you really have a lot of anxiety.
I'm so upset.
አሪ ምናልባት እሷ ፈርታ ሊሆን ይችላል በውሃ መርጠቡን። ነገር ግን ያው የተቀደሰ ውሃ ስለሆነ ምናልባት ያ ውስጥ ያለው መንፈስ ፈርቶ ሊሆን ይችላል።
Interesting. So I wonder if this is an ongoing problem or perspective, narrative, that as she resists the Orthodox Christian, Ethiopian Orthodox Christian ceremonies or thoughts or whatever, that it is her evil spirit that is resisting. And I mean, which makes total sense. I mean, that's the belief system. I don't know why it sounds strange to me to say it out loud, but of course that's what most people believe on the planet, something along those lines. And meaning that most people believe that their God is the only God, and all other gods are not only not gods, but they are like manifestations of the devil to tempt you away from your God. That resistance to your religion is a sign of the devil, is a sign that the devil literally wants your soul after death and is tempting you at all times to entice you and to entice others. And so, that's what most people believe, some version of that. And so, of course, he might believe something like that. So for him, as she starts to resist, which I think is due to really not wanting to be there, also being very safety focused regarding the child and being an anxious person, I think, she's like, this is getting too obnoxious, let's leave. He interprets that as that's the devil in her that is freaking out about the holy water, because the closer the devil in her or the demon or the evil in her that gets close to the holy water, the more it is going to influence her to get away from the holy water. Interesting. I would not recommend he have that point of view. She's anxious. She's not a part of this religion. She doesn't care. In fact, I think she's developing a little bit of a disdain for his religion because of experiences that she's had. And she just doesn't want to be there. And she doesn't like crowds, I think. So this is worrisome that, that's how I would word it, is that she's anxious and she doesn't like crowds. She is resisting the religion thing because she has never agreed internally or externally to participate in it, which is fine. They should have talked about it before they decided to have a kid and get married. Are they married? I think they are, right? Anyway, but neither one of them see it that way. I guess he sees it as her just being a lump on a log or stubborn or literally the devil is in her. And she sees it as he's a jerk face, he pressures me, instead of she's anxious and they haven't really had a discussion about how are we going to be as a couple regarding religion. It's like they just have chosen to agree to disagree and almost never talk explicitly about it until it becomes moments like this where you're yelling at each other. So, it's interesting, with the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, so many strengths, they're doing well. They love each other. They have a lot of eye contact. They seem to have a lot of affection. And then as the season has gone on, it really has become more concerning.
People, too many, they don't care. They're hitting, they're pushing.
What's wrong with you? You want to ruin your day?
No, you're really ruining my day.
So this is the language of contempt and the language of criticism that research has found is a indication or a cause of breaking up or dissolution of the marriage later on. Instead of, okay, I wonder what's going on with my wife. Instead of, I wonder what's going on with me. I wonder what's going on with him. Instead of that, it's, what's wrong with you? Do you want to ruin the day? And then she's like, what's wrong with you? Do you want to, it's this contemptuous narrative of the other person that assumes very negative things, and then the accusations come, and then of course that creates hurt and pain and then more anger. So this is worrisome.
But you keep pushing my boundaries.
Baby, listen to me.
You're yelling at me.
Listen to me.
You're yelling at me. No, you don't.
Leave me. Give it to you.
Don't put your finger in my face. Give me Abby.
So now I think I'm seeing a sign, that power struggle, that, the parent that possesses Avi, the child, has the power. And, in this moment, she is almost like pulling a ripcord and saying, give me the child. You have not proven worthy of the power of this child. It's sort of like you're taking your kid out in the car and he starts to be a little reckless and you're like, stop the car, give me the keys. Get out of the, you can't sit in the driver's seat anymore. That it has that feeling to it. And that's a problem for a variety of reasons, instead of having just a conversation. The other thing is that it seems like she has all the power, because if she's holding the child, then she has the power. And then if he's holding the child, it sounds like she can demand the child. Now, maybe I'm reading into things, and she's just like, it's my turn, or I just don't really trust you in this moment because you're not really listening to me. It's hard to know, but I wonder if this is a triangulation that's happening already, that the parent that has the child's attention or somehow has, physical control, has power over everything. Yeah, it's worrisome.
It's overstimulating for a baby. I'm not comfortable, and I don't think that's unreasonable in any way. And I feel like I'm really trying hard to explain that, but the lack of language and the lack of a will to understand on baby's part just makes this very hard.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That there's a language difference, there's also a massive cultural difference. And she's saying that he isn't willing to understand. Yeah, it seems that's true. And I don't think she explains it well, at least on camera. She explains it like, this is a ridiculous ceremony. People are too close to my child. That kind of language, which is her perspective for sure, but that's not taking into account that he's willing to take those risks because this is a very important, ceremony. It's not just like a parade. It's like, look, we need to get that holy water. That's like an important part of the three of us having a good life, if I were her, what could I say? I would say, look, I totally get that you want to do this and I'm not into it, but I want to do it for you. She even said something like that earlier about the baptism, which was good. It's nice. She's like, look, I'm not into this. I don't want to do the baptism, but I'd love to see you happy. And so I'm doing it for you. So she could say something like that. She could also say, I'm an anxious person. I don't like crowds. I'm also terrified. I'm a early mother of a very, very young infant that I am very protective of, maybe too much so. I don't know. Maybe that's my thing, but I cannot deal with going into that crowd, and I'm sorry about that. It's a different approach rather than you're a jerk face for even asking me to do this. I'm right, you're wrong, and then pain and hurt and accusations back and forth.
I really want him to enjoy the holiday, but not at the expense of everybody else. I want to feed him, so it's enough for Avi and enough for me.
We can go home.
Yeah, this actually went worse than I thought it was going to go. It's, there's some couples on the show that I think have so much potential, and maybe they'll be fine. Maybe this is just one conflict every month that we witness, and the rest of the time they're fine. There seems to be some evidence of that. But I was really hoping that this couple would have been able to avoid moments like this where it seems like, I hope this, I think it's interesting to watch this show and to see the conflicts start and then grow. And it's interesting for me because, I'll watch just that couple for like a week or something, and I get to see those clips very close together. And I will often see, and I did with this couple, a little bit of a crack in the foundation. And I'm like, uh-oh, unless they address that, which almost never happens in better communication or couple therapy, then that's going to get worse in all likelihood. And then it always does, almost always does. And with this couple, I was just so hoping that we wouldn't see it get to this point. And it seemed to really accelerate towards the end of the season of contempt and anger and a divide between the two of them. It seems like the two of them they feel alone, and the other person doesn't understand them, and the other person doesn't want to understand them. And like they've almost given up on that front, when I think that they could understand each other if they actually put the effort into it. But the effort requires differentiation. It requires, okay, I can't accuse them of something because that's not going to help. It means owning your own feelings. It means being tentative about things. It means really trying to listen. But we haven't seen evidence of that.
Right now, I'm so mad. Ari, she's an annoying person. ራሷን ነው የምትወደው እና የራሷን ስሜት ብቻ ነው የምትረዳው።
Yeah, yikes. So this is exactly what I was worried about. We heard her say things along these lines and have, but now he's saying she's annoying, she's selfish, she only cares about herself, and I don't know why. That is the sort of narrative that will build in someone, and it'll erode your love and motivation to be in the relationship. And then when you get in fights like this in the future, you're just like, the reason why we're in a fight is because you're selfish, you're annoying, there's something wrong with you. Instead of, I wonder what is happening here that is causing us to fight. For all y'all out there, when you get into a fight, or maybe even right now, and you think about your partner, think about all the negative labels that feel right and congruent to you about your partner. If you can't really come up with any words, then that means that your relationship is on the healthy side of the spectrum. If you can come up with like a number of different harsh labels to apply, narcissistic, histrion, hysterical, unreasonable, selfish, these are common words that people will have, uncaring. These kinds of words are an indication. Now, maybe you're right. Maybe a lot of people would say those words about that person. I don't know. But regardless, those words in your mind are evidence of a certain road that you've been down, where it didn't begin this way. And it's often relational, not always, but it's often something that the two of you participated in, like this couple, and you're two good people coming to the table and misunderstanding each other and then drawing conclusions. And then you rinse and repeat that enough times. And eventually you're just like, I give up. They're selfish. There's nothing I can do because they only care about their own. They don't care about my feelings. And when you get to that point, unless you turn that around somehow, the relationship is either going to be extremely miserable, or two, it'll end, Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But, I think these two are trying to make it work. So he now has these negative labels for her. This is contempt. This is criticism. An indication of a lot of pain and hurt. That's usually what it is. It's just like he's been hurt so many times that he's just like, she doesn't care about my feelings. She's a selfish person. She's annoying. She's stubborn. She's self-centered, and that's why I'm hurt.
If I'm not going to calm down, I don't think so if I'm proposing now.
Okay, they're not married. I'm like, are they married? Because they act like they're married, and I was like, I don't think I've seen them. Because usually on this show, they will show the wedding, so I guess that's the point is, will he propose? I guess that's the question. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really, really do.